What's up, guys? Floater Gang back again. Today we're going to be talking about the outlook and what went wrong or what went right for all the playing teams. And then, let's get started. Let's get started with New Orleans because they've had a very turbulent last couple of days. Obviously, they lost on plane to the Thunder, which was unexpected by all three of us. We had the
Yeah.
And there was some issues about Zion potentially being fully healthy and not playing. And so, what was your impression of what went wrong for the Pelicans in that game specifically?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you specifically what necessarily went wrong for them because obviously the Thunder, you had Dort scoring 27, Giddey scoring like 30. Both or Giddey's was career high. I think Dort's was around career high as well. So obviously the Thunder had that on their side, which helped a lot. And then obviously Zion, from what I've heard, is he was fully healthy physically, but he wasn't mentally and based off his diet, so physically in a different way ready. And I do know even CJ McCollum said something about that after the game as well, after they lost. So I'm kind of curious to see where that goes too, with Zion, with CJ, and just kind of because Zion, he's a great player. You want him on the team, but if he doesn't want to be there and he's not playing, you might want to look at potentially trading him or something, which would be a pretty big trade though, and it might be complicated because he gets injured so much. But at the same time, it might be a necessary step for New Orleans to know what they want, I think.
So that's an interesting point you brought up about potentially trading Zion. It's really hard to know when is the right time to give up on the Zion experiment.
Exactly.
Because I don't think you're not going to win unless you have Zion, but Zion's just never there. And so the question is, when do you give up on Zion? Because Joel Embiid, he played like 30 games in his first 3 seasons.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm not ready to give up on Zion as a player, but
Yeah.
when there's speculation. There was always speculation that he didn't want to go to New Orleans.
Exactly.
There is speculation that he doesn't want to stay in shape, or he doesn't want to do the things necessary to stay in shape. So I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know if it's time to trade Zion, but you certainly look into it. I don't even know what they can get. Like, what's its value?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's gonna be difficult too, because he's injured all the time. He, especially as of right now, maybe it's because he's in New Orleans and he didn't want to be there, right? So he's like, I don't really care as much. I'll just kind of do my own thing. But that's the difficult part about trading him as such a superstar potential player who doesn't play, who also, as of right now, doesn't really seem to care to play. So the question is, what is he worth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what New Orleans would have to look at a lot more if they are actually thinking about trading him, because you would need to know what kind of pieces you're looking back for, how much you want, whether you're looking for Rudy Gobert kind of trade, or if you're looking for just like a kind of, we just kind of want him off the team, want some good role players back. I think that could be interesting, or even just more picks for this year, next year, whatever, right? So that could be interesting as well.
Yeah. What do you think?
Zion being overweight, over his contract, being healthy. I see CJ McCollum's point there. They would have definitely won if they had him. But I think honestly both their bigs they should try to give him away. Jonas Valanciunas, I think, should not stay there anymore. Same with Zion. Because Zion's never wanted to be in New Orleans in the first place.
Well, that's what expected.
That's speculative. Well, it's interesting.
Well, he said he didn't want to be drafted by the New Orleans.
Yeah.
But he said he would want to go I think it was Atlanta and New York.
Yeah, something like that. Well, the interesting thing about his overweight problem too is, right, you had at least rumors from Rudy Gobert and some Timberwolves players about Edwards being overweight and having the wrong diet too, right? But
I don't think it was overweight. I think it was
not overweight, but out of shape and having a bad diet, right? So like, if that were Zion's problem, how big of a problem is that? Because for Edwards, it seems like he can't. He's fine now. Again, he's back to himself. So the problem is how bad is it, and how willing is he to change?
Yeah.
It honestly is Kyler Murray of the NBA. For Zion, I feel like
I think that's too
it's
early.
a very similar.
I think that's too early. Kyler Murray, I wouldn't say Kyler Murray's a bust. obviously.
No, I'm just saying about
But-
him playing video games all the time, not really trying to stay in shape. It's the same case with Zion.
Yeah. But Zion, when he does play, he's shown that he's a top 10 player in the
That's
NBA. I think yeah, New Orleans got some things to figure out
for sure.
Um,
And it could be a really interesting offseason for them.
for sure. I also think another thing that they lack is just another playmaker. You know,
Yeah, if they could replace or not replace, but put CJ down a shooting guard and get an actual point guard. Exactly. I think he needs to go back to shooting guard, and I think that would help him a lot. And then if they can get a true point guard, even if he doesn't score that much, but just a good distributor, passer, leader, I think that'd be great for them, honestly, for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I think they should try doing? Trade Zion. He has not much value. Maybe try to get DeJounte Murray.
I think it's more valuable. I think it's more
We'll
valuable.
get picks out of it, of course, too.
The
But
Hawks don't have any picks. They traded all them for Dejounte Murray.
It's true. Yeah, I mean that might be a potential maybe three-way trade with someone else. Maybe with the Mavericks.
Maybe Trey Young. There's been talks that the Hawks are questionable about Trey Young. Maybe you throw Zion for Trey Young.
I don't think Trae Young will fit with.
That's true.
It's just not his team.
I mean, obviously everything right is we'll see,
Although he's been doing better. Trae Young's figuring out how to move off ball.
but I think that's partly because it's Snyder too. So who knows? I mean, I think Willie Green can help
Willie
too,
Green
obviously,
is-
but it's interesting too, actually, how he has been playing different since Snyder's been there, and they do look like the Hawks, at least more like the Hawks that we were expecting them to look like at the beginning of the season.
For sure. So let's just go straight to the Hawks since we're on the topic. So they got a dominant win over the Heat.
Yeah.
They looked like the better team, and that is what I was saying about the Hawks a couple weeks ago. Saying when we were predicting this matchup, Hawks sometimes they just look like when they play cohesively, they looked like one of the top teams, one of the most dangerous teams in the league. Especially when Trey and DeJounte are rolling. DeJounte didn't have that great of a game, and they had a really dominant win. So, what are your thoughts on what's the outlook on them against Boston? What chance do they have?
Honestly, I think they have a pretty good chance. I don't think they'll come out with a win, but I definitely think they can steal a game or two. First off, right, I mean they have DeJounte and Trey. They look a lot better. I think partially one of the reasons they won't beat them 4 times in the 7-game series is because they're also a lot newer in the system. So that might hurt them a little bit as well. And I feel like some of their players just aren't completely developed yet to know what you're going to get from them.
Well,
Like Hunter and
Boston.
Collins. Collins is looking really good actually right now, but I feel like especially based off the beginning of the season, he might have, that game or two where he's not putting up.
Boston's not too experienced right now with their new head coach. He's been the head coach in a playoff game.
That's true.
I mean, that's
But
true.
The players, I think,
The players I think have enough experience
and they're running.
and talent to take that series.
Obviously, they're shooting a lot more threes, but overall, the system is very similar to Udoka's. And
Yeah, I mean it's really just the coaching that changed. I mean everything else is pretty similar.
Yeah.
Obviously a few players too, but
So I never got the whole trading Collins. They're always trying to trade John Collins.
yeah, and then the thing I don't get about that too is they were like
Really good.
saying they were gonna trade him like beginning of the offseason.
Yeah.
All the way to trade deadline, not much talk about it, and he's still there. Everything seems fine. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I feel like them always talking about trading Collins is just
That outlook for
it's a-
Collins. He does not want to stay there then.
You don't want to be in a place where you're not wanted.
Yeah,
Um,
and Jalen Brown said that too on the Celtics, right? I mean,
exactly.
or he said he wants to go to a place where he's wanted, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
And so his play, probably is affected by that.
Yeah.
Well, not so much anymore.
Well,
Just past the trade, but
Yeah, that's true.
and he's played better since the trade deadline.
Well, the other thing too, right? That being on the trade block could affect players differently too, right? It could have them play worse and not try as much because they're like, well, whatever, they don't really want me. Or you could have the opposite, right? And they're like, all right, well, I'm going to give it my all and show them that they do want me, or have other teams try to get me more because they're like, oh, he's really good. I want him on my team.
That's why it was so weird for this news about potentially trading Trey Young came out right before the playing game.
yeah.
And it seemed, I mean, Trey Young had a pretty ordinary game for Trae Young. You know,
Yeah.
it was like 25, 7, 6. Pretty normal. But he looked
Fantastic.
yeah, he looked more committed on D.
Yeah.
His playmaking was on par with what it always is. It's really good. I'm interested to see what the Hawks do. I think they could steal a game or two. What would be a success for the Hawks? Stealing 2 games?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Or obviously,
3.
right?
I think they can win
Say-
2.
Yeah,
I think they can win 2.
I think they can win 2.
Because
I think they should win too.
so you have Mark Smart guarding Trae Young. DeJounte Murray most likely guarding Jaylen Brown. So the scoring I think is gonna be a lot lower with the defense on both teams that they have. Because Clint I think is a great defender.
Yeah, I mean, you keep him in the paint with Rob Williams.
I think
Both good
Tatum's
rebounders
gonna-
and defenders.
I think Tatum might just go off.
Well, that's what I was thinking. So you either you could try to put
can't do
DeJounte
that.
on him too, though. They might try that. I wouldn't be too surprised. DeJounte.
They'll have
Tatum?
Trey Hunter.
That's true. I guess you have Hunter on Tatum
You cannot have DeJounte Murray guard
on Brown.
Tatum.
So it could be really interesting, especially defensively. Because the Hawks, I do feel like they have.
Kind of match up well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why I'm saying I think they can definitely steal 2 games because they match up pretty well. But I think just the youngness of the system and stuff will end up hurting them,
And obviously,
and just the experience. Obviously, it's only so much, but the experience of the Celtics also. It was just last year when they were in the finals,
I mean, they have the 2 best players in the series.
Yeah.
And that's hard to lose when you have the 2 best players.
and they're the second best team in the NBA.
Yeah.
So I mean, you kind of expect them to win the series at least,
For sure.
whether it's a sweep or not.
Yeah, so let's talk about Miami, who barely made it.
Who lost to the Hawks there.
Lost to the Hawks and barely beat the Bulls.
Barely squeezed. I mean, it was an 11-point game, but it was a barely a win.
Oh yeah,
because
and they kind of
they squeezed it all out in the last minute. I mean,
They don't look good. I
no,
don't know.
especially against Atlanta. That game worried me a lot because they weren't playing defense. They weren't getting rebounds. Oh my goodness,
So they
no rebounds for them at all.
if they can't rebound against Atlanta, they are not going to be able to rebound against Milwaukee. And
Oh no, I think they definitely wanted that 7 seed in terms of matchup.
For
think,
sure.
because Milwaukee. I mean, they're the best team, and Atlanta. I just don't think Miami has.
I
a
think
chance.
Milwaukee has a high chance of sweeping.
Yeah, I honestly, I think
I expect
I think Miami is pretty lucky if they win 1 game.
Yeah.
I think it could happen,
I think
but I would
Milwaukee
consider that.
is the best, well-rounded
Yeah,
team
most
out there.
for sure.
There's a reason
They
they're
have
the
a
number
great
1
bench,
team.
great start, or perfect start, honestly.
Well, they have great starters. They have a great player at every position. There's a reason they're number 1 in the whole entire league by a pretty good shot. I mean, I think it's like 4 games, right?
Yeah, so let me ask you this. So Miami, we expect them to lose, say they lose in 4. What do they need to take the next step? Or should they not take the next step and try to blow it up?
Well, here's the other question,
Blow
right?
it
So I know Jimmy Butler said he definitely wanted to leave. They didn't make the play-in, right? Here they are, barely squeezing out of the play-in, and especially if they get swept, I wonder if he will consider that same level, because you barely squeeze out of the play-in, and then you didn't win a game after.
This team is super old. They have no young assets.
No, I mean,
Nikola Jovic.
their youngest assets are their undrafted players who are great role players, but I don't really see any of them.
You're not-
a star
Yeah, you're not
or
fetching,
18.
you're not fetching any stars for those players.
No. You're just fetching really good role players, which they did
Yeah.
for sure. They did what they were supposed
They
to.
don't
They,
have
they overachieved themselves from where they were at,
yeah,
but I don't see any of them being a star of the team.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
for sure.
I mean it'd be super cool, but I just don't see that, and you shouldn't expect that necessarily from them either, because I mean the position undrafted, right? Obviously, you could be a star, and like I said, that'd be amazing, but you don't expect that out of undrafted players, and you don't normally see that out of undrafted players.
Well, Miami has a lottery pick. Oh no, they don't. They made the playoffs. So they don't have a higher pick. So they have a higher pick. So and we know Miami is great at drafting. They got Bam Adebayo in the middle of the second round. They got Tyler Hero in the middle of the second round. First
Yeah.
round, sorry, both first round.
But that's still going to be that's pretty good though.
Yeah, so that situation is definitely interesting. I don't know where they go from there, but
Oh yeah, I don't know. They might honestly because
Jimmy Butler
pretty old.
Wants to leave, I think.
You
well, you
might.
don't want to lose.
Maybe
Unless
build around Bam.
That's what I was about to say. You might want to build around Bam and like Hero.
But I also don't like how Bam is even though like his positional, but
He can't play power forward because he can't shoot. It's really hard to put him on the floor with another center because he can't shoot.
That's true. That's one problem. Bam
Like in
has.
Cleveland,
if he
that
can get a
works,
jump
but
shot,
Evan Mobley can stretch the floor a little bit.
yeah, I think if Bam can get a better jump shot, he could be. Then you, I mean, he's already a really good player, but he definitely has
It's a jump shot.
plenty of improving to do, for sure too. But yeah, I think potentially look at kind of building around Bam and Hero in Miami might be the next move.
Yeah. I just don't love a franchise built around Bam and Trevor here.
Yeah, it's not. I agree, but that might be their next step at least.
maybe they just restart. Do an OKC move.
Yeah.
Trade everyone on picks.
Maybe you get Shea and here you are.
Maybe you get your shit, yeah.
But that's interesting.
Maybe look at Jimmy Butler for RJ Barrett over top. 20 rounds.
I did not like Carter Bears.
I mean,
He's young.
he's young. He's young.
He's young.
Grimes is young. And he's doing pretty good too.
Yeah. I love that.
We have a great coach. So.
Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, Coach Spo's a great coach too, though. In Miami.
does he leave if they blow it up?
Yeah.
Good question.
Um,
I honestly don't think he will leave by himself. I mean, I don't know what his
well,
contract.
they're
looks
not. He aren't fine. So
like. Exactly, and I don't know what his contract looks like right now either.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's. Oh, maybe because I guess you have like the Rockets and.
he's not going to go to the Rockets.
Yeah, I don't think he will. But I'm just saying there are a few vacancies in head coaching if you were to look at that maybe. But he definitely won't leave if he doesn't have a clear like.
The Jazz could use him. They have a good team.
Will Hardy's good though. I think the Jazz should keep what they have right now.
Harden's great year one.
Will Hardy was great. The team was great overall. They had some injuries and obviously they're young.
Maybe he will succeed. What's the word? Maybe he'll do his first after Pop retires.
I think that'd be a good fit, honestly. That'd be
Love that.
interesting, yeah.
San Antonio residents.
That's true.
So let's move on to Chicago, another team that's massively underwhelmed. Obviously
They've been
Lonzo
underwhelming for a
Ball's
little bit though.
Lonzo Ball's injury completely ruined them. He's
Yeah,
not coming
but
back next year.
exactly, he's not coming back next year either. So you know you're not gonna have him next year. If you do, you're lucky to have him for a few games at the end of it.
So what's their offseason outlook? Do they blow it up like Miami or do they I mean I feel like this
I
team
think-
has this core has reached its limit.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think the biggest move that I would look at if I were them is trading DeMar DeRozan. Because I think Zach LaVine, I mean, he's still young too. I think you should keep him. Vucevic.
Zach LaVine likes playing by himself, being the superstar.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, obviously, I think everyone would rather be their own
Yeah.
superstar.
Yeah.
But I think Zach LaVine has handled playing with DeMar well. I
Yeah,
think he could be one of the best number twos in the league.
yeah, but like I said, I think I would look at trading DeMar probably honestly for a more positional power forward. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's honestly the move because they definitely don't get a guard unless you're trading like half your guards. You have plenty of guards in Chicago. They're all decent.
I mean, Alex Burks.
Well, Lonzo and Cruz are pretty good. Pat Bev is pretty good. I mean,
I'm pretty sure they're good too.
Yeah.
so I think they definitely shouldn't look at getting a guard. I think they should look at getting a forward in return for DeMar.
In my opinion, I think you just trade Zach with DeMar, build around Vooch. Well, no, the Vooch is probably.
I think he's
He's a free agent, so I don't see a scenario where.
Yeah.
Or maybe if Chicago can probably give them the most money. But if I'm
Chicago-
Chicago, why would I bring back Vucevic for $20 million?
Chicago's gonna be interesting.
I think they should blow it up. Trade DeMar for hopefully some young assets. Maybe I don't know. I don't know how much you can get for DeMar. Zach, I think he would be a great complementary piece to a team that's missing a complementary piece,
Yeah.
like a Denver or a Minnesota.
I don't know. I think the only problem with Denver is they already have a few complementary pieces. I feel like
None of them are good enough. I don't see Jamal Murray being the second best player on the championship team.
I mean you saw him in the bubble.
Yeah, but he's not that guy.
Dude,
Unless he is.
3 years
He
ago.
could be. I mean that's true,
That's
but
3 years and an ACL tear removed from being that guy.
it's true. But I mean I don't know.
I don't know if Michael Porter.
I feel like
is the one to be the third best.
Yeah, especially not as
I
a
think he's a good role player, but not a good.
star player.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Gordon's the third best player on that team at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think Aaron Gordon should be your third best player.
no, especially not at this time in his career.
I mean, he's really good. Great, one of the best role players in the league for sure. But yeah, well, we'll see what Chicago decides to do. Let's talk about Toronto, another team. I think kind of the same boat. There was a report that came out that they will be looking to make significant changes at the head coach position
I was about to
and
say that.
at possibly trading OG Siakam, build around Scotty.
Yeah. And
And I like-
possibly trading Fred as well, because I have heard, or at least especially from the commentators through one of the games too, that they might look at putting Scotty Barnes in more of a point forward situation
Yeah.
to where he's distributing the ball more.
Which I would like.
Which I could see. But yeah, I mean obviously they were even talking about trading Fred, I think, at the deadline as well.
Yeah.
So they might have a total restart, honestly.
Yeah. So I really like the idea of revamping kind of. I mean, I love Nick Nurse as a coach, but I think he's probably gone. Regardless of whether the Raptors fire him or if he just leaves. Love him in Houston. But yeah, so trading OG, trading Siakam, you're going to get a ton for those guys.
And even Fred you can get
You could
plenty
you
back.
could get something solid for Fred. For
Yeah.
sure.
Fred has a lot of potential. I just don't think he's fitting well with the Raptors.
I mean, he's not a one.
I think he could find his groove on another team.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the Spurs, maybe.
Spurs
Uh,
are trade for Fred.
What's the other team? I just think
I think he would look really good in Los Angeles. Clippers. Like the Clippers.
Yeah,
He could be
yeah.
good. The Lakers do.
Clippers.
I don't think the Lakers.
The Clippers, I think, definitely need him
Yeah,
more.
Russ is he a free agent?
Yeah, but he's
Yeah.
probably going back to LA.
Especially to make it, I think, pretty far.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
he's
you know,
been-
because yeah, you have Fred and Gary Trent who are free.
Oh, geez.
Player options. They have player options
They're
too.
not accepted.
So they're probably actually walking out. So I guess they won't get anything from Fred unless they
That's
do a
not
sign
great.
and
Yeah.
what if the Heat got Fred VanVleet?
for
That
that.
changes absolutely nothing.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe from the 8th
I don't think that
seed
changes
to like the 6th.
Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet,
They're not
or
accepted.
to Fred.
Why would they
Well,
do that?
Fred VanVleet is a free agent. That's what I'm saying.
I know,
You
but
go-
why would the Raptors do that? Yeah, okay, Fred, you could go ahead and walk free. The Heat can't sign him. The Heat don't have cap space. I would never take back Kyle Lowry's contract or Raptors.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, if you could throw in Nikola Jovic, we'll do that.
that's true because they want their young guys, especially
Yeah.
right now. But yeah, that's interesting. Gary Trent Jr. also could possibly just walk, and he's a pretty good player too.
He would look good on the Lakers. I'm not trying to send everyone to LA, but
No, I see what you're saying.
I
Actually,
think he would fit well
I think he
I
could
could
fit
see
really well.
him next
Actually.
uniform.
on the Knicks. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, he's
So you either got New York or LA for me, somewhere in the US.
Gary Trent, obviously great role player, but their Raptors are going to lose a lot. They're going to change a lot,
Oh
and I think
so.
it's best.
I'd be surprised and disappointed in them if they look pretty similar to what they did this year.
Maybe OKC gets scared. Trent. I really don't know. Those two teams could have.
Honestly, I think at this point, besides like draft, if I were OKC, the only players I would look at signing / like trading for would be bigs.
So let's go to OKC then. So obviously they got blown out last night. Everyone was not great. We were really good, but everything was not great.
Nobody else was great.
Obviously, just everything went kind of wrong.
First quarter was good. After that,
That's going to happen when you're a young team, and they've made it this far. They look really good.
yeah.
I think they're happy with their season.
Oh, they're for sure happy. I listened to part of Dave Nald's interview yesterday. He's like, "We're totally happy. We made it farther than we expected to. We made it to the play-in. Like,
Yeah.
They should be. They should be happy with everything they did this season. I think almost doubled their win count from their projected, right?
Yeah. Well, so I think their over under was like 21, and they got to 40.
Yeah, exactly. So they almost doubled that, which is pretty good. You almost got the 8 seed in the playoffs, and nobody was really expecting you to even go to the play-in.
Yeah.
So they for sure exceeded what they were expected, and they should be 100% happy with what they did and just look to the future.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's what they're doing anyways.
But like I said,
But totally super bright for
because
them.
he got Gary Trent, he could score, I think OKC could use a lot.
Yeah, but I think if they're, I think they could definitely use a guy like Gary Trent, but maybe target a guy like Gary Trent in the draft. Just because I think if they could use that money that they have elsewhere, I wrote down a list of players. So I think their two biggest needs.
You go ahead.
I think their two biggest needs are a big to play next to Chet. Obviously, I think Chet is the long-term 5, but until Chet gets to that place physically, he could play like
And
Evan Mobley
too, I think.
and yeah. I mean, it's tough guarding the biggest
Yeah,
player
and
every night.
I think it'd be hopeful too, especially if they could get like possibly a stretch, but like an older, more veteran type 5.
Yeah.
To kind of teach him too,
So I
and
wrote
obviously
down.
help him out.
So I wrote down some bigs I think they should target, and I think their second need is a point guard off the bench. They just don't have a reliable one. I think
That's
they could
fair.
sign a veteran.
You're true.
So okay, anyway, a couple of the bigs I thought of. Clint Capella. Hey, call the Hawks. Hey, Onyeka Okongwu's up for a contract extension. We'll take Clint Capella off the books for you if you're looking to do that. I
Yeah.
think he would fit nicely next to Chet.
And I think he'd fit really well
Another lot.
in OKC's system, especially with you don't need to get another guy who can shoot threes or stretch the floor. You just need someone who's there to get rebounds and play defense in the paint, really.
And then I wrote down a couple others. Nurkic. I'm less sure on that, but he's a big body.
I think, yeah.
He could stretch the floor a little bit. Grant Williams.
I don't think so.
You just hate Grant Williams, so of course you're gonna.
He's not a center either. I'm
No, but he's a bigger. He's a
bigger
he's a
guy.
bigger guy.
That's
He's
true.
a great defender.
We saw him guard Giannis in the playoff. He didn't. Obviously, no one's gonna lock down Giannis, but he did a pretty good job. I think he
You
could.
have Lou Dort.
If you lock down Giannis, you deserve some award.
If you have Lou Dort and Grant Williams, like coach, it's good.
And the best case scenario for you, obviously, if you don't jump up to get Wemby, Pistons do. You take one of their bigs.
Oh, for
James
sure.
Wiseman,
I
David Byrne.
honestly don't even know why
I
they
think
got
so.
Wiseman at the trade deadline.
Makes
They
sense.
already had 3 bigs before that.
And Durham was.
And then I said
Yeah.
Mo Bamba, Mo Wagner, Mason Plumlee, or Mike Muscala. I think all those guys.
Get Muscala back.
Um,
I don't know why they traded him either, honestly.
yeah,
I don't know what that. I mean, I guess they got a second.
He's not very
What
good.
did they get? A second for it? 2 seconds.
a second
And
and
Jerry, Justin Jackson.
Justin Jackson.
Who they dropped? Who they dropped?
Scholars.
He's good. He's good in our system. Or in OK.
He was pretty good for us. We just barely played him, and then we gave him away.
And then so obviously I think one of those guys would be nice. And then for the guard position, Derrick Rose, Mike Conley, Victor Oladipo, Kobe White, Corey Joseph, Nikhil Alexander Walker, or pay Dante DiVincenzo. I think all those options would be really nice. All of them provide shooting. All of them provide playmaking. And all in all, this list just encompasses what I think OKC needs to do to take the next step. Obviously, get a big to help Chet grow, to help him grow into that 5 position, and then get another guard off the bench that can, get a guard off the bench that can help slow down the game for the young guys.
I think OKC should do is get Dante DiVincenzo. Vucevic is a free agent, right?
Not Vucevic.
He's a
Vucevic. They signed Vucevic. Try also getting Grant
No.
Williams.
No,
I mean,
well, so Vucevic, yeah, he would be nice, but he's terrible defensively. And I think the whole point of getting another big is to get a good defensive player.
Chet's a good defensive player.
Well, yeah, but
Lou Dort's a good defense.
I'm talking. Yeah, that's 2. Shea's all right on defense.
J.D.'s pretty good on defense.
Yeah, but
But no, they're not
specifically a big.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of moving Chet to the 4 is to get a
solid 5.
Solid
plays
5.
defense and gets sports.
exactly.
That, or at least that's what my thought process.
Then Nurkic.
Or-
That's an option.
I think Andre Drummond could be a good pickup for the Thunder too.
I don't think Andre Drummond would go first.
I think he would go anywhere.
likes
He's getting
defense.
minutes.
I was like, I think especially if he starts, I don't know if he would, but especially if he would.
Maybe even if he starts, I don't know if he would be in the closing minutes.
Yeah, but he definitely
He'd
get
like
more
to go
minutes.
small.
He'd get more than 5 minutes, which is what he's getting in Chicago right now for the most part.
Yeah. So
So-
basically, just
And he's also a player option free agent.
OKC's need.
But I think if Vooch leaves, Andre Drummond stays, he's gonna start. And they're gonna be good.
I don't think
That's-
Andre Drummond.
I don't know if Andre Drummond will stay.
Yeah.
They might have to find a whole new center.
Yeah.
But I also like Victor Oladipo because you mentioned that he hasn't played since he came back from his second injury this season. He's played one game because they were not trying at the last game of the season, so he's played there.
He's gonna be incredibly cheap.
He's gonna be cheap. He's gonna love to go anywhere where he gets minutes as well. So he might be
I don't
a
think he'll
pretty
get
easy good pickup.
He will not get minutes though. See, they've Josh Giddey,
Yeah, he's not gonna start.
Shea. He's not gonna get very many minutes. I
Yeah, he's not getting minutes period though.
Yeah.
The whole point is so yeah, just another
that's
veteran
pretty
guard.
useless.
Think who else is he playing over? And like in terms of the bench,
And
Trey Man's not been good.
He
As
barely
much as
plays
it breaks
anyways
my
too.
heart.
Usman, he might actually get more minutes next season.
Yeah, we'll see, but he's not
But-
a point guard.
No,
Or he's
mean,
not another
Oladipo-
playmaker.
I wouldn't say Oladipo's
He's not-
the most point guard playmaker either,
But he's just a
definitely
playmaker.
and he has more experience.
Yeah.
We could use a few veteran experienced players. But that one is interesting, but I just saw that he was a player option free agent, so it could be easier to get him for the Thunder.
Yeah.
But obviously we'll see what they do. It'll be interesting.
I mean,
I
obviously,
hope they get a big though.
their outlook is outstanding.
I hope they get a big.
Maybe Brooklyn, Nick Claxton's up for a contract soon. He's gonna be an
I-
unrestricted free agent next year.
I don't
He's
think
not gonna happen.
I don't think they're getting.
Best case scenario.
I think unless obviously Claxton doesn't want to resign, I don't see why they would resign him.
Yeah, so let's transition to the Timberwolves then.
Yeah.
Obviously they looked really good against Oklahoma City, but they kind of exploit everything that Oklahoma City doesn't have, which is a defensive big,
Which
or
is-
just a big body. And
Which is the paint. Just the paint.
OKC cannot guard the paint.
Cannot get rebounds. Even though the rebounding actually wasn't even the biggest problem for them
Yeah.
yesterday, but overall, that was surprising and honestly not the best look for Minnesota. But
So their chances against Denver, I think, are close to zero. They'll take a game.
I think they could take a game or two
Yeah.
for sure. Especially just. But then
I mean,
you saw what happened the last game of the season. They're in shambles.
they
They're-
don't have their best
have them
defender,
shambles.
and Jaden McDaniels. Rudy Gobert gets absolutely torched every time he plays Jokic. Cat, he's a bigger body. I actually think Kyle Anderson would probably guard Jokic. Cat is terrible defensively, and you don't want him in foul trap.
And you're not playing at Jokic either.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, you might. I don't know. It could be interesting.
See Kyle Anderson.
I mean,
Rudy
you-
Gobert. Oops.
Yeah,
I think their friendship is still intact.
I don't think Minnesota is intact. I mean, you got Jake McDaniels so mad he's punching the wall and breaking his third and fourth knuckle basically. The same game as one of your players punches another player who then gets sent home at halftime. They're not looking too great.
Yeah.
But I mean, potential wise and player wise, they have the skills. But chemistry wise, they don't.
So they with Cat back, they
for sure.
they haven't looked that bad.
No, Cat's
I think this is a good team. This is a solid 6 seed. Obviously, that they're not the 6 seed, but I think they have that type of potential. It's just Cat was out 50 plus games.
That's true.
Gobert has looked terrible. He looked good against the Thunder, but
Who does? What center doesn't look good against the Thunder?
Jonas Valanciunas looked like
Oh boy, don't even get me started. You got what, 15 and 18 or something like that, right?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, we'll see about Minnesota.
You know, if you have a legit center based off how they do against OKC, unfortunately, if they're not getting boards, he's not. I mean, obviously, it depends on what you want him to do.
Yeah.
But
So let's talk about the Lakers then. Final playing team.
we're out there with the plan. That they do scare me, but at the same time, they have so much potential.
Also, they're your
talent.
favorites coming out of the West.
They are.
Are they your favorites coming out of the West?
Who's your favorite? Oh,
Yeah.
They have Stephen freaking Curry, they have Clay Thompson, and Jordan Poole, which was great last time. They have Dante DiVincenzo.
You gotta see a baddie courtside though. That's the only problem.
Hey, Sacramento, they got that. Probably.
Yes, they
They
do.
have to play if they're playing the Lakers.
We were playing 2K yesterday. LA. We were playing.
There's no Cali, I mean,
Alright,
anyways,
Uh,
so who's your favorite? In the West? Golden State, you guys, okay. I mean, that's fair.
Oh,
Totally.
especially I've seen Lakers play Wolves without Rudy Gobert.
so
What the heck? How do you expect them to beat Memphis Grizzlies?
so that's what I'm saying. So the Clippers.
Draymond has faith.
Yeah, he,
Oh,
yeah, that's right, yeah.
He said he could see them sweeping even.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll be I think it'll be 6 or 7 games.
I mean, I can see the Lakers beating the Grizzlies. Grizzlies, I think are.
I think the sweep was definitely over there.
I think it would be like in a 6-7 game series.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
regardless, Lakers, they just make it so difficult on themselves that
That's true.
when you're playing the top tier contenders, I don't think there's any top tier contenders in the West
No,
necessarily.
for sure.
But but still, you can't get away with that against good teams. Obviously Minnesota was playing freaking terrible.
Their offense is really good. They
Uh,
were shooting really well.
not in the fourth quarter when the Lakers went second.
Oh,
that's when the
well, you
Lakers
saw
got-
Anthony Edwards. He scored what 11 points.
No,
He scored single digits.
Yeah.
But what
He
Conley
still
had
went-
like 25, Cat had like 30.
He still puts
wow.
Well,
and
that's because Anthony Davis didn't know what he was doing on defense on the last play.
Exactly. So that's what worries me. They just seem so out of it sometimes, and they seem so dysfunctional
LeBron.
on offense and not necessarily on defense. Their defense is usually really solid, but they just have like breakdowns sometimes, and it's just
They're-
really hard
yeah,
to be like,
that's
is this a finals team?
No, I totally understand that.
Darvin Ham just
Honestly, with the Lakers, I will admit obviously I have them as my favorite. I can see them get into the finals, but I also wouldn't be too surprised if they end up getting out in the first round.
Yeah.
I mean, they could honestly go. It just depends on what they're doing. Honestly, like it doesn't even really depend on the competition. It depends on themselves. That's the problem. Is they hurt or help themselves only. They don't really. It doesn't matter who they're really playing.
And if
It's all
LeBron
on
James,
themselves.
as you saw, he is back. He went crazy against the Timberwolves. That last play, goodness, dude, that pass was so nice. Schroeder
Credit to him though,
hit his
because
three.
you have so many stars though that would try to take that shot themselves. So you got to give him credit too for actually passing that because there'd be so many, especially if you're superstar, one of the best players in the league. Like, I mean, I guess maybe not one of the best players because most of the best players in the league have pretty good IQ, so they probably would pass it. But there's a lot of number one options on teams that would totally either shoot that or look for their own shot somewhere and not pass that.
and that's the thing. Like you wouldn't be mad at those players for taking the shot, but LeBron, he's always thinking, just what's the best basketball player.
Yeah.
And also, I think
He's looking for the best shot, not
And
a
that's
good
why
shot.
he is considered the GOAT.
One of the goats at least.
MJ would have taken.
Yeah.
And
Would he have made it? Who knows?
yes.
But also,
although he has a couple game-winning, finals-winning assists. John Paxson, Steve Kerr. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's that.
yeah.
We're not talking about that conversation. Will never stop. And so
It won't stop till the end of time.
Yeah.
Till the end of NBA.
Until there's a new guy.
But that conversation will probably still exist. They
Yeah.
just add another person to it.
Yeah.
So the GOAT conversation will never be settled.
Giannis might be added too.
He could definitely be added to it by the time he retires.
he's got to. I think he's got to reach like another level of dominance. You know, LeBron and Jordan. The East was like, it was like who are we playing out West? That's what they were worried about. They weren't worried about anyone in the East.
Cause so dumb.
I know. And so Giannis hasn't reached that level. We're still like, oh, Boston. If Milwaukee wins the East several times and they do it in dominating fashion and they pick up a couple chips along the way and Giannis is that guy, maybe you could end. But
Alright, we're saying ourselves going into the past. And
yeah, so
stuff.
let's talk about Lakers. Obviously they're very polarizing.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Right. I mean, so they had one of the best records in the West after the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Which
For
is
sure.
why a lot of people are really high on them. But yeah, my concern is they just
Consistency, basically.
the consistency, and if you can't be consistent in the playoffs,
It's gonna be hard.
it's going to be possible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, not necessarily,
Well, yeah.
especially because
But every game is going to be a 7-game series.
they have a pretty well-rounded offense and defense too. So if you happen to be battling one of them, they still have a pretty good hope that the other one might help them a little bit. You know, their defense is bad. Hopefully, they can still score on the other end, other way around as well. Because I feel like they're pretty well-rounded in that sense of the game, but obviously consistency lacks, and that can be a big problem.
Yeah.
But they could also to figure, hey, if we're consistent every 2 games, we win enough games to win, and we make it.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, anything can happen. They can get out first round in 5 games. They could go to the finals and win in 7.
Yeah.
Really, anything's possible for them.
And I mean, and obviously the health factor is
Yeah, that's the other problem too. Is if they do end up going to 6 or 7 every series, that might hurt them a lot too. Because Davis and LeBron are gonna be like, I need to sit a game or 2 or 3 or 4,
and you can't do that.
and they can't afford that. Maybe 1 game, but definitely not both at the same time.
Definitely not.
That will hurt them too much.
So another NBA news: the Mavericks were fined 75,
750,
750
750K,
for
almost a million.
intentionally losing to the Chicago Bulls and ruining the playing chance. What is going on? Like
What is
So-
Dallas right
Now
now?
let's talk about what is their path towards either building a contender again,
What-
or is that even possible?
I don't know. I don't know. They have too many questionable pieces.
Let's start with this. Do they resign? Should they resign Kyrie?
Does he want to resign? Nobody knows because he's Kyrie.
Say he does. Should they?
I honestly don't think so. Just based off, I mean, maybe I think their first move is fire Kid. I don't think Kid is the guy for head coach.
I have 3 words for the Mavs, and that's all I'm gonna say. They are lost.
Oh, for sure.
Keep Kid.
Period at the end too. You gotta make sure to add that period. They are lost.
Exclamation.
Exclamation point. All of the above. Put it all there. They're also in shambles like Minnesota, but a lot worse in my opinion. Differently, but
Went a lot worse.
also worse. And they have so many people who they don't even really know who they're gonna have next season right now. I mean-
Also,
They're
Christian Wood's as good as gone. I believe.
I don't blame him at all.
I mean, why would he go there?
McGee doesn't even play either.
Yeah,
I mean you started playing.
he started playing, but even then, Dwight Powell, he's not starting center. He's not
I don't
going
know
back.
why.
He is starting. Oh, he's not.
I don't know what they-
He's not yet.
I don't know what is he doing.
I have no idea, honestly.
I think
I don't think they have an option to not to like see something in him. They are so thin at every position. It's,
Especially bigs.
and they're gonna have some money this offseason. Whether or not they use that to resign Kyrie is a question or not.
Yeah.
So obviously my preference would be let Kyrie walk, or maybe try to do some sort of sign and trade, or I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. And then Brook Lopez is free agent. Maybe go after Brook Lopez. Your biggest problem is defense, and he's potentially the defensive player of the year.
Yeah,
I don't think Brooks.
and he's in Milwaukee, and as we've seen with a few Bucks players, they like being there. They take pay cuts to stay.
Yeah.
Which I respect, honestly. I think that's
lost the
awesome.
Bucks.
Yeah, I'm sure. He can-
And I could totally see Lopez doing.
I could too. I mean that's like if I'm Dallas or if I'm a lot of teams, Lopez is the number 1 option. But we don't know what Lopez wants to do.
Yeah, we don't know what Lopez wants to do. We don't know what Milwaukee will
They
offer
win a
him and how bad they want him.
If they
But
get
I'm
the
sure they'll
championship
be
again, he's gonna resign.
Oh, for sure. Even if they go, honestly, I think even if they go to the
Conference finals.
even the final, oh yeah, even that, honestly, they're just so well rounded. Like they really don't need much to do besides keep their players healthy. That's the biggest thing. And even they're still doing great.
Yeah.
So they're one of the best looking NBA teams right now.
So let's go back to the Mavs. But so
But yeah, they have plenty of things to think about with signing people. They have 7, if I'm counting right, about 7 unrestricted free agents. So, and one of them being Kyrie and Christian Wood, and then obviously some smaller players like Powell and some like backup players who don't play much. But they
Yeah.
have plenty of thinking to do with just re-signing players.
Theo Pinson was in their rotation this year after the trade deadline. That's crazy. Theo
Well,
Pinson-
Christian Wood,
Garbage.
he went from playing like 30 minutes for them to playing like 10 minutes for them.
Yeah.
I don't even know why his minutes got cut. He was actually doing pretty good.
Well, he can't play defense, but
I mean, yeah,
but
he was-
neither can Dwight Powell.
he can play defense better than Powell,
Yeah.
at least statistically. Statistically for sure. And then they have Marquise Morris, who's also an unrestricted free agent, who I
He
mean
didn't play that all.
he didn't really play much either. But like I said, I mean there's definitely plenty of money that they can get from leaving some of those guys and letting them walk. But they have thinking to do with that and then potentially trading some players maybe.
Yeah.
Like Tim Hardaway Jr. they have I don't know what I think I've heard rumors that he wants to leave. So maybe they potentially trade him.
See what Tim Hardaway's dad said?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he just said in very vulgar words that they need a leader. Lucas crybaby.
I agree.
And-
Luka needs to mature.
I did too.
That is a big thing I think for Dallas as well.
I
'Cause their leader isn't a leader yet.
have a question for you. If Luca would say Luca's like, all right, I'm done. I want out. Let's say they lose Kyrie and they can't sign anyone, and Luca's like, all right, I want out. First of all, and just pretend the match are like, okay, yeah, we'll comply. What teams would want him? What teams even want him?
Well, the question isn't would teams want him. It's the question would team want him for what he's worth or what they have to give away.
Yeah.
And that might be where the struggle comes in. Is the Mavs might not be accepting some of the trades because it'd be undershooting them. But then the other teams don't care enough about him, especially at his unmature stage that he's still in, and what they would
Yeah.
possibly have to lose to get him. So that could be a tough one, I think. I do think there'll probably be one buyer at least.
I think most coaches see that he's a selfish player.
But if you're
Well,
if you're
also-
the right coach and the right team and you know what you're doing, you're gonna fix that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's
You need
why.
a Greg Popovich coach right there.
I'll be able to fix that in a jiffy.
He might make him work by doing that, but you know.
But he'll fix him.
I mean, so that's kind of similar to the arc MJ. You know, he wasn't selfish. Well, yeah, he was selfish. He took his shots he took the shots that he wanted to take. He wasn't looking for his teammates. He didn't trust his teammates. And then he took that next step when Phil Jackson was like, "Hey, you got guys.
You
Hit
got
tax, hit Kerr, dump it down to
We
Pippen."
got Pop and Pippen,
Yeah,
Gilmore.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't have Gilmore at that point, but yeah, he didn't. For a long time, he didn't trust his teammates, and he didn't utilize them, and that's kind of what Luke is doing right now. We kind of saw in the playoffs last year with Jalen Brunson, and it worked. They went to the conference finals.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, part of the problem too is, right, I mean, who, especially before Kyrie, was their consistent, I mean, I guess they had Dinwiddie still, but their
But
consistent
who-
scorer, because Tim Hardaway, he scores 5 and he scores 30, you never know. So he's not, I mean, as Luka, right, you can't really trust him to make it.
Yeah.
Then you have Wood, he also kind of is the same way. Powell maybe gets 4 points in the, like, right under the rim. But that's probably off the rebound or something. So I mean, you do have that for Luka too, where I think, I mean, he only has so much that he can rely on sometimes.
But I think it's the same way with the Bulls though back then. Steve Kerr was not very reliant. But he took the shots that they needed and went down.
Yeah. Well, so I wrote down 3 teams that I'm thinking. I'm gonna go after Luka. Orlando.
Yeah.
Something built around whatever pick they have.
Okay,
Maybe throw on Franz Wagner. I know you would think that.
I mean, I can see that honestly. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if Orlando wants to mess too much with what they have,
Yeah.
especially for Luka because they'd be giving away probably five
Yeah.
players and /4 picks.
I mean, it'd probably take Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, picks on picks.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to throw in like Wendell Carter.
Yeah, exactly. And
Um,
I think Orlando is. I mean, you saw them this year. They were in playing contention for quite a while.
And
They have so much potential for next year. They had injury problems for the first half of the season.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mess around too much with Orlando. I would also kind of just keep what we have
Yeah.
and do that.
All right. So the next team I put down is Oklahoma City.
No.
Maybe a package centered around Josh Giddey.
I
Usman Giant, Usman Shane. They have obviously the most picks in the NBA.
I don't
No.
think that's the right mix either. I think
They've
both those teams they're so young in potential that they don't even want to they don't even want to mess with their teams that much either. Even if they didn't have fade, they don't want to mess with their teams that much. I also don't know if they'll fit too well. I can see why you thought that, but
Kyrie Irving moment right
I don't think for those two teams at least that's the move. I think they're riding the potential train right now and they're looking pretty good on it. But
Yeah, I agree with both of these so far. Next one's New Orleans. This is the last team I have that would.
I
Makes
definitely
sense.
agree with that one for those three at least.
Pelicans need a point guard. I don't think Luka's a guy that fits.
I think he could
Point
honestly.
guard.
I think he could fit pretty well, honestly.
I mean, obviously this
Yeah,
Packers are
Ingram.
style.
Probably Zion, maybe Jonas or something like that,
And Ingram, McCollum.
which could help the
Yeah.
Mavs a lot. But they also don't have Dinwiddie or Brunson anymore either at point guard. So then, and they have what Holiday, Tato Pinson.
This is my favorite scenario for Luka to go any team. You got Luka. Say you got CJ, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy,
Ingram.
Ingram.
But
Then you'll probably end up
that's
playing
why
like
CJ
Hayes
McCollum
and
left.
Willie.
His point guard was crazy. Didn't really give the ball.
CJ McCollum didn't ask out because of Dame. I think he just wanted to win. I don't
So
think
he left because of him.
I don't think
He
he
didn't
is
shine. He was under his weight base.
Well, he's not shining now.
He liked playing
he
with
was
Dame,
third
but
guy.
also there was a little bit because he wanted to shine more because he was only under Dame's wing. Now he's under the team's wing, though, so he doesn't care as much either. Because before that, it was literally him and Dame. They were the only players on the team that would score. But he wouldn't even score that much because Dame's always scoring.
And you don't focus around trading Luka Doncic. Oh well, CJ McCollum be happy.
Yeah.
You get Luka Doncic. Yeah,
Yeah,
in
and
some situations.
And
If it's like a Shea and he doesn't want Luka, then you respect it because he's 24. He's a first team All NBA type guy.
he's their star player
Yeah.
by a long shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if CJ says like, no, I don't want to play under Luca, then you can take someone else out of the trade and put CJ in there.
Sure.
Give him CJ. I mean, I know it's unfortunate for NBA players, but that kind of is the case sometimes, where like you can't have everything you want, obviously.
I think Ingram would want
But-
out.
Ingram would what?
Want out if they got Luka.
I don't think so. I think you're making assumptions that are just purely assumption.
Oh, for sure.
It's the same case for you though. OKC and Pelicans.
What do you mean?
That's just the same case as what I just said.
What do you mean?
That's wild.
What?
For him to go to OKC or the New Orleans Pelicans.
Well, I don't get the point. I was just laying down teams that have the assets to trade for Luka.
And that could potentially be better with Luca.
Yeah.
Which I don't
I mean,
know.
I think all these teams would be better. With Luka.
I mean, every team could definitely be better with Luca, especially if they play him right and have the right coach and stuff. But I honestly think New Orleans could be a potentially interesting look for both teams.
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking to trade Zion
Mhm.
and Jonas, because you can definitely package those two guys for Luca, obviously with some other stuff as well. The only problem with them then is, I mean, they still have Hayes and Hernan Gomez, but I don't know if you really want any of those guys, at least not yet, starting either at center. So then they would be a bit weak at center, but they do have plenty of pieces to where that probably won't hurt too much. You know,
Yeah.
especially with Luca getting rebounds like he does. But that would be one potential that I could see hurting them if they were to do that trade, is they probably lose their base.
Mhm.
So they would be weak on that.
Interesting points for sure. So before we close it out, I just want to each of us give one hot take for the first round of playoffs. My
For the
hot
first
take,
round?
yeah, my hot take: Jalen Brunson will average 35 plus.
Okay. I could see that for sure, especially with numbers he's put up this season. Even especially towards the end too.
And Julius Randle may be still laboring from his injuries.
Yeah, but I was about to say that too. I was about to say Julius Randle might be back though, so that might put his points down a little bit because he has Julius Randle there who might get some more points and take the ball a bit more.
Yeah.
Who knows what RJ Barrett's gonna do? But I can for sure see that. It's a hot take, obviously, but I there's definitely potential for that. You got what's yours?
Who can go to the finals?
What did he
For
say?
this round. That is
Oh.
a very hot take.
Who did he say?
And that's the problem. He said Cleveland going to the finals.
Oh,
And honestly,
that's definitely a hotter take.
the more I think about it, I think it's possible. If they
It's
beat,
possible.
if they beat Milwaukee, which they are the team that match up the best against Milwaukee,
or at least yeah,
they, they'll be Boston. I mean, they can be Boston.
they match up well with Boston too because I still think depth is their biggest
Yeah,
problem.
that's the only.
That's the biggest problem.
But they match up really well, and I think they're a year away from being probably the favorites, or one of the favorites.
Yeah,
I think they're a year away. Like if they can get depth this offseason, they will be on the same tier. As
and
Milwaukee.
if you keep Okoro and Levert, get Okoro Levert consistent and get Okoro points. Okoro does not score.
Okoro was
He's a great defender, but he needs to score too.
he knocked down some open threes.
Alright, Tyler Hero averaged 28 points per game.
That is hot.
That is very hot, actually.
I would love to see it though.
I definitely got to say his heat skill is a lot higher than yours, but that's
35.
interesting. That's interesting.
That's 28.
No, I said 35 for Brunson.
Oh,
But
And Hero has Jimmy Butler who's in the playoff now too, so
I would so I like thinking about it. Hero is one of those
he
guys
could for sure,
that can just go on a year.
but he can also do the opposite sometimes.
That's true.
And that's I think part of the reason why I don't think he'll average 28. But I mean, if he does average 28 and you have playoff Jimmy, they could take some more games against Milwaukee. I don't think they're winning that series unless like Bam, Jimmy, and Hero all average 30.
And
with it.
Giannis gets good.
That too, and then you have Lowry who's averaging 20 and 10 with points and assists.
It's gonna take a whole lot.
It's gonna take a lot for them to win. They're gonna need to do that 4 times.
But Tyler averaging 28. Very interesting.
It could help them a lot for sure. You have Jimmy and Lowry doing what he did against the Hawks.
Yeah.
What's
your hot take?
my hot take. Okay, you guys both went for the East. I don't really want to go for the East. Let's see what we can get in the West
I was
here.
gonna say Curry averaging like 30, but I'm like, that's not very high.
I was
That's
not even thinking of Curry at all.
Curry averages 15.
Oh, I know for West.
All right, get
Go ahead.
De'Aaron Fox averaging 32.
32. That would be fun.
That
De'Aaron Fox, finally showing that he's in the echelon of the top point guards in the NBA. That would be a fun storyline and something I would enjoy as a longtime De'Aaron Fox believer.
Darren Fox is amazing, and he can definitely reach that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Grizzlies. I'm gonna say Jaren averages 23.5 points.
He was on a heater to end the season.
He
What,
was.
3.5?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But yeah, I think that's definitely possible. They're going to need some more offense besides Shaw, especially with Kyle Short.
Yeah. I
Obviously-
mean, Bane. They do have Bane. He's a pretty good.
yeah, but
scorer,
he's
but-
a lot younger. I don't know.
Yeah,
if you
for sure.
trust him, or you
That's
definitely trust him, but you don't trust him to score 23.5 points every time.
No, yeah, and I'm gonna look here. I don't remember what Jaren averaged last playoffs because he did do pretty good too. I think he might have had the points actually, but I think I can see him scoring at least 22 points again.
Yeah, I feel like against the Warriors, he was foul trouble quite a bit.
Maybe, yeah, but I think against the Timberwolves at least, he did pretty good.
That would be this year's playoffs.
That's true. That's probably why I won't go. Hey man, I'm just ready for the playoffs.
Yeah,
So he only averaged 15 points last
big jump.
15 and a half. So
Point.
I'm having him average 8 more points.
You think it's possible?
And I think it's possible. I mean, the only thing is they obviously have Davis on the other side. But I can see him doing that. It definitely seems a bit hotter now, but hey, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We were doing hot takes, so I jumped on the train.
Alright. Well, so I'll give a West hot take then. If you want, to also give it East.
Okay.
Let's just do that.
That's cool.
That's fine. Nikola Jokic averaging a 35-point triple double in a sweep against the Cavs.
Averaging a 35-point triple double.
Why not?
Against it. Wow.
I believe in Nikola Jokic.
Wow, that might
I
have
think this is the year to get it done.
That might have been the hottest take of the day.
That might be.
That's a pretty hot take.
You're
I mean, I know he's Jokic, but He has to score 35 points, 10 assists, 10 rebounds on average for
Not
4
35,
games.
35, 15, and 12 average. Look
Is that rebounds assists?
uh
15
15
rebounds?
is rebound.
Okay.
It's not average. Wow.
That you wow, okay. Okay.
I'm really good, not really good. I'm really high on the Nuggets this year to finally get it done. I mean, if this is the year they are going to go far, this is the year to do it, and I think Jokic will take advantage, especially if the Minnesota.
I'm going to laugh if the Nuggets get swept, which I
Well,
it's very unlikely. It's very
If the Nuggets
like a-
lose,
It
like a
won't be.
5% chance of
of them losing,
yeah.
period.
I definitely think it's gonna be a sweep for you.
I obviously will.
For sure not, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna go points again in the East. But I'm gonna go with Mikal Bridges, averaging 27.5 points.
So basically, the average within.
I'm gonna guess, but
I honestly think you do. I think you do 30.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll go through.
Your hot takes really.
The Jaren Jackson one was pretty hot.
Yeah, yeah.
The Jaren Jackson one was pretty hot.
The McKell,
Mikal Bridges
come
one
on,
is not
man,
tough.
he's crazy.
But, I mean, they're also playing the. I mean, he's been in the playoffs, but he's never been the star player in the playoffs. He's
Yeah.
playing the Sixers. So I honestly, I mean, I'm gonna go 30 points. It is obviously hotter too.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I mean, he's definitely going to score 30 if they have a chance. Or actually, you know what? I'm gonna go Spencer Dinwiddie, averaging 10 assists.
That would be fun. He's been dishing.
Exactly.
New York.
I'm gonna go Spencer Dinwiddie, averaging 10 assists. Mikal Bridges is. I mean, I still think he can, and we can keep it on there. But I'm gonna switch it officially to Dinwiddie.
Okay, that's
10
fair.
assists.
That's fair.
I feel like that's a lot more interesting.
yeah. Yeah, that'll be fun, and we'll put up posts for you guys to drop your hot takes, and
Drop them in the comments.
yeah, be interactive. It'll be fun. So that's all for today. We'll see y'all next week.